I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. I want to talk about one of these performative and very bizarre hearings that the MAGA Republicans held this past week and how the Democrats responded to it, I thought, in brilliant fashion. And the hearing by these MAGA Republicans was called ESG Part 1, an examination of environmental, social, and governance practices with Attorney General. And the central premise of this is that corporations need to be controlled by the government if their investment criteria relates to environmental, social, or governance practices. And MAGA Republicans argue that that is really bad and very problematic. So they want to get government in the mix here. And just to be clear, like ESG criteria refers to a broad set of data that investors look to determine a company's impact on the world and the impact the world might have on it. In other words, it's not just about whether a company is, quote, good according to some abstract set of values. It represents another way of factoring risk exposure into investment, something that financiers have been doing for centuries. And so you may want to know, for example, how your business could be impacted by climate-fueled droughts, floods, and fires. Those are important things for delivering shareholder value, but the modern-day Republican Party wants to attack that. The modern-day Republican Party believes that that is woke, and the modern-day Republican Party wants government. By the way, if you look at these MAGA Republican states, they are running their pension funds horribly. They don't know what they're doing, but they want government to attack businesses if they care about things like equity and diversity and the environment and social issues and making sure there's more equality in governance. So here's the hearing that they held. I want to show you first the clip that really kicked it off. This is Lauren Boebert in this clip, and she talks about how there are all these woke corporations in her mind, which she talks about. She says, Anheuser-Busch, Disney, Nike, they're way too woke. Here, play this clip.
As we have heard today, there are numerous concerns related to so-called environmental, social, and governance policies being indoctrinated into accounts by woke asset managers. Today's hearing will help us better understand what Congress can do to ensure that activist stakeholders will not encourage woke corporate activism, as we have seen recently with Anheuser-Busch, Disney, and even Nike. Because as we all know around here, when you go woke, you go broke.
And what's so interesting is here is the Democratic retort, right? Like Lauren Boebert, the media refers to as a conservative, and the media would say that conservatives are focused on keeping government out of business. They're holding a whole hearing about introducing government to ban businesses from ESG criteria, when in fact ESG criteria right now is not mandated at all. Businesses are free to do what they want to do. They can consider ESG criteria. They don't have to. So that's Lauren Boebert. Now this is Katie Porter, Democrat from Orange County, who has to give a lecture and explain to Republicans what capitalism is and explain to Republicans what it means to deliver shareholder value. And you'll see in this clip, Katie Porter's like, Republicans are claiming that a private equity firm like BlackRock is somehow some woke leftist communist thing. Like, that's strange credulity. Here, play this clip.
It's very important to be clear with the American people. The Labor Department's rule does not impose a mandate. It permits fiduciaries to consider ESG standards if they believe those considerations are prudent in their decision-making and what the information is they want to provide investors. There's no mandate under the Department of Labor. And I think these antitrust concerns are at best misplaced. There is simply no evidence that there is a violation of the Sherman Act going on. There's no evidence that this is what's happening. It is up to each of these companies, to these initiatives are no different than other initiatives that corporations have that come together. These are private actors making their decision. It strains credulity for me to hear people suggest that BlackRock is some kind of leftist commie organization. For crying out loud, BlackRock is about delivering value, and in doing that, they are looking at a lot of different kinds of propositions about value, including good governance, including the effect that climate change may have on their bottom line. That's the whole point. This is about freedom. That's what we're talking about. Capitalism delivers freedom, and that happens when markets let people choose what they want. That's all that you're trying to block here. You're trying to block people from looking at disclosures that they find valuable. If they don't find them valuable, don't look at them. And I think capitalism is about choices. I heard you say you do too, so I hope you'll reconsider your policy. I yield back.
If you want an opportunity to respond, we'll...
bathroom break, Mrs.
Chair recognizes...
I thought it was just such a powerful moment.
When running a business, your employees can create all kinds of interesting situations, like getting complaints because someone on the team always smells horrible. Ben, you better talk to Bambi. Somebody isn't showing up when they're supposed to? Talk to Bambi. An employee reports a serious issue like harassment and you're not sure if you have a documented policy? Talk to Bambi. See, with Bambi, you get access to your own dedicated HR manager, starting at just $90 a month. They're available by phone, email, and real-time chat, so onboarding and terminations, those run smoothly. Team members reach peak performance, and your business stays compliant with the changing HR regulations. And with Bambi HR's autopilot, you'll automate important HR practices like setting policies, training, and feedback. Bambi's dedicated HR managers, they're a US-based person dedicated to your business, giving you access to the HR expertise and personal touch that you need, which allows you to be freed up and focus more on what you love. HR managers can easily cost $80,000 a year, but Bambi starts at just $90 per month. Schedule your free conversation today to see how much Bambi can take off your plate. Go to Bambi.com right now and type in MeidasTouch under podcast when you sign up. It will really help the show. Spelled BAMBEE.com. Bambi.com, type in MeidasTouch. Thank you.
I'll show you this next clip. This is Democratic Congress member Jamie Raskin, who's like, if we want to talk about these issues, if the ESG movement, do you think that that's about globalist elites or whatever you're talking about? Jamie Raskin's like, well, why don't you join us and focus on Jared Kushner? And why don't you focus on the Trump family, who are the ones who are engaged in so much wrongdoing? Play this clip.
Nobody should think, by the way, that this movement is striking a blow against global elites, which we've heard a lot about today. If you're interested in that, you should join our investigation into Donald Trump and Jared Kushner, who brought home $2 billion, not million, $2 billion from Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates for a company he created the day after the Trump administration ended. So don't talk to me about global elites. That's the Trump family business, trafficking in global elites and their businesses. And he collected millions of dollars in unconstitutional foreign emoluments from Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Indonesia, Egypt, a whole bunch of countries that patronized his hotels and his golf courses. So I don't want to be lectured to by anybody about global elites, because I was here for the 4 years of the Trump administration. Now, my friend...
And here is Democratic Congress member Jared Moskowitz, who's just... He's like, this is part one. We're doing part two of this. We're doing part three of it. What are you even talking about? Play this clip. Congressmember Moskowitz, so good. Play this.
Do so, by the way. I'm pretty sure I just saw, some of my colleagues, going out and, shooting Bud Light cans because, they didn't like what Bud Light was doing. Should we have government mandate that they got to go invest in Bud Light because we want to support Bud Light? I mean, that's what you guys are advocating. It's really kind of crazy. And so, I don't know what we're doing here, Mr. Chairman. This is part one. There's going to be a part two. I mean, part one was just so fascinating. I can't wait for part two. But this committee has not taken any action on gun violence. We want to talk about a deadly weapon. This committee has not looked at all into AR-15s or deadly weapons or school shootings or mass shootings. I mean, you think parents in this country care about ESG? No, they care about dropping their kid off at a movie theater or at a mall, or at school. They don't care about ESG. This is stuff that like 10% of Twitter cares about. Okay. And so I just want to know when we're going to get serious here.
And here again, Democratic Congressmember Moskowitz is talking about, why are you holding hearings like this? Why are MAGA Republicans want to hold hearings about public urination? Maybe 10% of Twitter cares about this, but can we focus on the issues that matter to Americans, like mass shootings and the fact that based on these MAGA Republican policies, you're allowing everybody to get weapons of war without even the most common sense regulation? Play this clip.
And so, Mr. Chairman, I ask, when is this committee going to have a hearing on gun violence?
You weren't here last year, but all the hearings pertain to the Washington Commanders football team. They pertain to the Equal Rights Amendment. They pertain to abortion. They didn't have a single hearing with a single Biden administration official. They didn't have a single hearing on any type of anything relating to how tax dollars were being wasted by this administration. So maybe you should take the lead in campaigning for your side of the aisle, and then if you all win the majority, then you can have hearings on the Washington Commanders football team again.
No, I'm reclaiming my time, Mr. Chairman. That's fine. I wasn't here, but you're in charge now, and mass shootings are completely out of control, and so you have the power to make the decision, decide whether we should have hearings on D.C. public urination or on mass shootings. You're the chairman. I'm just a lowly Democratic freshman, and so I implore that this committee start to look at mass shootings and the real weapons that are destroying people's lives, which are AR-15s. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, and this was a great moment at the hearing where Democratic Congressmember Ro Khanna is asking a question to the witness, a MAGA Republican Attorney General from Alabama. And he's asking him, he goes, but I thought the Republicans care about certain issues as well. Where are you drawing the line here? And you'll see that the witness doesn't even know the most basic of information. Play the clip.
My question, you may have an agenda that you want to ask with this question, but what I'm answering for you is...
I reclaim my time. Let me ask you, Chairman Gallagher, I'm on the China Committee. We have had Republicans lecture BlackRock saying that they should have the values not to be investing in China, even if it's profit maximizing because of the human rights violations with the Uyghurs. Would you support that view?
First of all, I don't know exactly the circumstances that you're talking about in China.
That's shocking that you don't know the Uyghurs and the human rights violations there.
Can't tell you that I know anything about it, sir.
Well, I suggest maybe you should read up on it because it's a huge concern for America. But would you support that view? I mean, I'm just trying to say, where do you think values matter? Would you have supported the view that we should not be investing in Germany during World War II?
I think the issue for investment companies is whether or not they are finding that they are complying with their fiduciary duty.
Attorney Marshall, I guess here's my point. Do you think there is ever a point that values of standing up against the human rights views of China, values of standing up against Nazism, values of standing up against Stalinism, do you believe there's ever a time that values should trump profit maximization?
They have the right to choose not to invest in companies that they believe create certain risks. That's what the market provides.
That once you open that door, once you say that they have the right to, as you said, not invest in companies that have certain risks, or I would say companies that offend for certain fundamental human values, then the question is who gets to decide what those values are. And my view is it shouldn't be the government deciding what those values are. It shouldn't be you or I. It should be in the free market, these companies. If you're saying it's fine that they should not be investing in China, that they should not, with human rights violations, then what's the difference between that and a company that says they don't want to invest in something because of climate?
I don't believe that a small cabal of financial institutions ought to decide what are preferred societal values or global energy policy.
But that's not the case. The case is you're not even letting the cabal, you're not even letting them invest in America. And then you're telling them don't invest in China on the Uyghurs, and I hope you are, and then you're saying, though, that you're defining these values narrowly. Anyway, my time has expired.
And by the way, to me, that clip is so emblematic of what's going on here. I mean, it's the Alabama Attorney General who doesn't even understand some of the most basic issues. We're not talking about economists. We're not talking about experts on actual corporate governance. They call Alabama Attorney General to talk about woke this and woke that. But at the end of the day, what you see here in this clip, though, is the fact that the MAGA Republicans are trying to use the government to force upon corporations a ban on caring about like issues that corporations can care about. They don't have to care about. It's about freedom. They have the right to care about what they want to care about. And yet the MAGA Republicans want to impose their own crazy, their own nastiness and hate on private corporations. And as I've always said before, someone like a Lauren Boebert, a Marjorie Taylor Greene, a James Comer, a Jim Jordan, a Donald Trump, I could keep going on and on and on, a Matt Gaetz, a Paul Gosar. Again, I can keep going on and on and on and on, but you get the point. They wouldn't be able to get a job anywhere else in America other than being a MAGA Republican, because when you lie, when you're that incompetent, when you spew hate, when you discriminate against people in a corporate setting, that doesn't work. Setting aside a corporate setting, in a circle of friends, in a nonprofit, in a community group, like the way they behave, these MAGA Republicans, is not normal. It's not just nasty. It's not normal. It's disgraceful. And that's just not normal human behavior. And I'm so glad, frankly, that they hold these ridiculous hearings where we can expose them and call them out. Thank you so much for watching. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers thanks to your support. Check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Wherever you get audio podcasts, make sure you subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast as well. And hit subscribe here on our YouTube channel. Have a great day.
Lock him up. Indictment season is upon us. Celebrate with the new Indictment Season t-shirt and v-neck exclusively at store.MeidasTouch.com.